Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for Mayor Randall L. Woodfin's Tele-Town Hall with Birmingham City Schools high school students and their parents. We appreciate your participation today. Thank you for being with us. A couple of things to let you know before we begin. You can ask questions during this call today by pressing 7 on your dial pad. Press 7 on your dial pad. You'll be connected immediately to a screener who will then take your question and put it into the system so we can respond to it. So you can do that throughout. We will also have some questions for you as well, and we will let you know how you can answer those questions by phone while we're on this line. With that, now let me introduce Mayor Randall Woodfin.
Hey, good morning to the parents on this call this morning. My job is to be very brief in my comments. You have some pretty important people here to speak to you, and that is Dr. Lisa Herring, the superintendent of Birmingham City Schools, and some of her cabinet members present with her, as well as Galvin Billups, who's over the Division of Youth Services, as well as Dr. Williford, who is one of the lead people at the Jefferson County Health Department that can speak to some of the health issues. One of the main reasons we wanted to have this call with you all this morning is because we know as parents, you're not only concerned about your children, but you're concerned about their future, and as it relates to what will happen between April 6th and the end of this school year. This call will provide you all with an update on where that is as it relates to the safety, health, and well-being of your child and or children, and things you can do to ensure that they remain safe. And so with that, at this point, I do want to remind each of you all who are residents of the city of Birmingham is still under a shelter-in-place order. That order for now is the April 3rd, but as many of you all may know, some of you all may not know, that the President extended his recommendations to April 30th. And so it's possible before this week is out that the city of Birmingham extends its shelter-in-place order past April 3rd. That date is to be determined, but I do want you all to remember to be safe. If you all allow your children out, watch who they come into contact with and before they come back into your home, to take measures such as leaving their shoes outside or washing their hands before they touch anything, things of that nature. Just a friendly reminder that this is still a health crisis, and as it relates to being under a state of an emergency, it's important that you remember the shelter-in-place order and the type of activity outside of grocery, food, outside of certain limited things that you want to remain at home because we need to prevent community spread. With that, I turn it over to the main speaker today, that is Dr. Lisa Herring, Superintendent of Birmingham City Schools.
Good morning to our parents of our high school scholars, 9th through 12th grade. We're so grateful for your communication this morning. And of course, to any of our scholars who are calling in, good morning to you. A special thanks to Mayor Woodfin and City Hall for allowing us to be able to use this platform to do outreach to you. You are missed. We are planning strategically every day to ensure that we are able to successfully close out this year for all of our scholars. Today's call, specifically tied to our 9th through 12th graders, but to parents in general, allows for us to answer as many questions as possible. We recognize with shelter in place and the current pandemic that we're all in a space we've never been in before. We hope that at this time we can filter questions that can direct us to a space to reassure you that we're doing our best to not only finish out this school year academically strong, but to also reassure you and encourage you that you are our first priority in doing this well.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. I'm Rick Journey. I'll be the moderator during this phone call. We have several questions that are already queued up that we're going to turn to. And once again, I wanted to remind you, we will have some questions for you. There are some new folks who have joined this line, so I want to let you know if you have questions during this call, please press 7 on your dial pad. Press 7 on your dial pad. You'll be connected to a screener, and you will be able to ask your question, and it will go into the system. Our first question, Dr. Herring, how are the children going to turn in books and clean out lockers?
That's a great first question. So first and foremost, let me speak to what the state recently released as it relates to our instructional window. As of this past Friday, March 27th, the state communicated that we now have between now and June 6th, by or before June 6th, to complete this instructional year. It allows for us to have about 8 weeks of instruction where we will focus on our most critical standards to ensure that students have completed school. That being said, right now I would encourage families to hold on to any textbooks or any instructional resources that they have, because we do not anticipate entry into buildings in large numbers at all by or before June 6th. We are sensitive to lockers and the personal belongings or effects that might be in there. We will work out a plan for that. But I have to share that there should not be any opportunity at this juncture that would allow for us to allow students in or families. If there is something that is critical or urgent that we need to be mindful of, contacting a principal would be helpful. In the meantime, keep those textbooks because they are resources. And if you don't have them, that's okay. We will be able to provide for you the resources that will help you navigate through instructional packets. Because I've shared that, it's important to note also that over the next 8 weeks, we will soon be sharing this week a hybrid model where whether you have devices or not, whether you have internet or not, all of our instructional packets will be provided for our students. And the other thing you should note, if you are not one of those scholars where you have your textbook at home, all of our textbooks are also available online. So we'll push that out as a resource as well. So in short, hold on to those textbooks for now, and if there's nothing that's of an emergency need in that locker, we will figure out a way to get those personal effects to you after June 6th.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. Our next question deals with credit recovery. What will be done for students who participated in the credit recovery program?
So I'm going to invite Dr. Selena Florence, who is our Interim Chief Academic Officer, to speak to that. Credit recovery is already captured in our current instructional plan.
So if you are a student who was participating in credit recovery, you'll still be able to continue to do that as long as you have a device that allows you to take part in that particular program. If you do not have a device, we will be providing printed documents, printed handouts for you to be able to continue that work. So if you were in credit recovery, if that is something that you have been in or something you will need moving forward, we will be able to continue that using the online program, using the online platform, or we will print out documents for you to be able to complete that program at home.
All right, thanks a lot. I'd like to, before we continue with our questions, and we still have a number of questions coming through, I would like to ask Dr. Wesley Williford of the Jefferson County Department of Health to join us. He's on the line as well. Dr. Williford, as we've discussed, these are students and parents from Birmingham City Schools high schools. What is some of the most important information you believe they need to hear this morning concerning COVID-19 and how they can protect their community and their families and their loved ones and what they can do going forward? Dr. Williford?
Sure, and thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Some of the most important things that we can be doing right now is really thinking about, when we talk about the social distancing, the stay-at-home orders, really thinking about how best to make those workable. One of the things that we need to be mindful of is that the idea behind all of it is that we're really wanting to limit the number of interactions that a person has with other people. And so while it's great that people may be able to be away from school and they may feel like it's a little bit of time for relaxation, the reality is that we need to be able to, we really need to avoid people going out and seeing their friends in a large group or just making more of those contacts, because when that happens, it brings home the possibility that someone could pick up this virus that is spread in the air and start getting more people sick. So we have to be really mindful of when people are off school, that they're really trying to limit those contacts as much as possible. The other thing, of course, is encouraging the best possible hand hygiene. washing your hands with soap and water for at least 20 seconds, making sure that we're doing the best that we can to clean our surfaces at home, and just making sure that our kids, our young adults, and our parents are all working together to help protect the people who need the most protection, the people who are vulnerable, people over the age of 60, people with chronic medical conditions. Those are the people that we're all really trying to protect. But I would say those are the most important things that we can do at the moment to help protect our community.
Thank you, Dr. Williford. Just to remind folks, the Jefferson County Department of Health is on the line for questions, too. If you have a question during this call, press 7 on your dial pad. You will be connected with a screener. You will pass along that question to the screener, and they will put it into the system so we can respond. With that, let's go to our next question. What's going on with the Birmingham Promise, and will students be able to go back to work?
Hey, everybody, this is Mayor Woodfin. I'll take this question. So in partnership and conversation with the city school system and United Way, unfortunately, we made the difficult decision to suspend the apprenticeship program effective March 16th. The reason is because we needed to be in alignment with the statewide closure of K-12 schools. And so the apprenticeship program was always in participation with the school system. If school is out, it's actually hard to continue the program. This decision was made in an effort to stem the spread of the virus and to protect the students and the corporate community supporting this effort. I do want everybody to know that this program will continue next year. This doesn't stop the tuition side of the program either. So the tuition side of this program, as it relates to seniors attending school next fall, they'll still be able to participate in that side of the program.
Thank you, Mayor Woodfin. Our next question, what's being done to disinfect the schools while closed?
So that's a very good question, and we do have an answer for that. This evening, we will have a special call board meeting with our 9 school board members, and I'd like to take this moment to acknowledge and recognize them, as they have been a powerful force in supporting us through this time of transition. Our board president, Adaji Hendricks, our board vice president, Mr. Mickey Millsap, Dr. Douglas Radlin, Ms. Terry Michael, also Mrs. Mary Boehm, Mrs. Sherry Gardner, Mrs. Patricia McAdory, Ms. Sonia Smith, and Ms. Sandra Brown. We will be meeting this evening to confirm a vendor who will be going into our schools very soon, once approved, to go and do a deep cleaning and disinfecting for all of our school buildings. I have Dr. Sullivan here who could speak to what does it mean when we say deep cleaning. It's important to note that part of the state's expectations have been, with the opportunity for us to now do instruction over the course of the next 8 weeks, we must have those buildings clean before we initiate access into the building. Dr. Sullivan, if you could speak to that, Chief of Staff.
Good morning. Thank you, Dr. Herring. After the contract is approved this evening, beginning on Wednesday, we will have a company to come in and they will clean all hard surfaces. They will clean all carpets and floors. And in addition to that, they will release a fogger which will kill all bacteria and viruses that it comes in contact with. So at the end of the process, we expect that all 42 of our schools, as well as our central office and district offices, will be cleaned during this process. Thanks, Doc.
Thank you, Dr. Sullivan.
All right, thank you. Our next question, will there be a graduation for seniors?
So that is a very necessary and important question. So to all of our members of the class of 2020, I want to reinforce and share what I sent out last week in stating that we have not forgotten you, and we sincerely recognize that this is a unique time, especially for you. You have not had the opportunity as of this time to experience your senior prom, as well as senior week activities and now graduation. Unfortunately, for all of us, our current pandemic is greater than the opportunity for us to celebrate you in this moment. But to be clear, we will plan as best we can the opportunity for us to provide a graduation experience for every member of the class of 2020. So let me go back to our directives as it relates to closing out this academic year. Between now, March 30th, and before June 6, 2020, you will complete your instructional year as a senior, as a member of the class of 2020. We are working with principals and teachers to execute that plan after this week. Your high school diplomas will read a graduation date of June 6, 2020. That's what our diplomas will read in Birmingham City Schools. Any proposed graduation ceremony, if they can occur, would have to occur after June 6, 2020, unless circumstances put us in a position to delay that. We are doing as much as we can to exercise creativity and intentional focus on honoring and celebrating youth, and it is our commitment to see that through.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. Before we ask our next question from callers, we have a question for you. Our first one, do you have high-speed internet in your home? Do you have high-speed internet in your home? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. We will have this question open for about 3 minutes for you to respond. Again, do you have high-speed internet in your home? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. This question will be open for about 3 minutes. I will remind you before we close it out. Now let's move to our next question. How will parents be able to receive a refund on senior payments?
On senior fees and
Yes.
senior payments, yes. And so we have not at this juncture finalized what that looks like to all of our parents, and that is absolutely a fair question. I'd like to propose 2 scenarios. Given that we know that we will not physically reconvene before June 6th, but that there is a possibility that after the 6th, we could potentially do that. It could be applied at that time, but because that is uncertain, what we will do is communicate with all of our high school principals to see if any funds that have been contributed or submitted for the purpose of senior activities and senior fees, we will have to gauge how much of that has been spent to date, and if not, how can we provide an opportunity to provide an equitable distribution of returning fees. Today, I am not able to tell you what that will look like, but what I will commit to is a conversation with our high school principals and also our senior advisors to identify if funds have already been spent, and if not, how might we be able to the opportunity to refund. So I appreciate that question. We will, as we continue to communicate over the next several weeks with seniors specifically, have a much more well-crafted response for that.
Our next question. My daughter has an IEP and has issues with online classes, and I'm unsure of how to help her. What am I to do?
Yes, and so to the parent who has shared the reality of an IEP, we have been in constant communication with the state to ensure that we can do as much as possible to honor and provide support to families with this type of situation. So the first 2 things I want to say is that the state is helping us to provide guidance literally as we speak. That has been and continues to be our top conversation over the last 3 to 5 days. If you are able to also communicate or extend any outreach to the principal, that will allow us to help push in to empowering you or your child with how we can make the appropriate accommodations to ensure that your child is being served appropriately. IEPs put us in a position where every body of support is, or every element of support is individualized. Because this is an individualized question, what we will do is encourage you again to communicate to your school's principal, and then we will push into the case manager within the school to help ensure that as far as much as we can provide the appropriate support, it will be provided. And I know that's the question from one parent, but that is a question that is fair and appropriate and reflects a good number of our overall student population. I need all of our parents who are parents of students with disabilities to know that that is on the top of our priority list in terms of identifying in this new normal, how do we empower you to have the support you need at home to ensure that your child is going to be able to effectively close out this year. So I hope that answer helps.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Herring. We want to close out our current question to those on the phone. Once again, I'll ask it, and we'll give you about 30 seconds to respond. Do you have high-speed internet in your home? Do you have high-speed internet in your home? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. You have 30 seconds to answer this question. Stand by as we pull up our next question. Dr. Herring, are young people still able to access grade results?
So that's a very easy question. The answer is yes. They can still continue to access grade results. All accessibility continues.
So our next question, this person says their child's medication is still at school. How can I arrange to get it?
So I certainly want to tier this question up to a high level of priority. If your child's medication is still at school, we need you to contact our supervisor over health services and nursing services in Birmingham City Schools. Her name is Nurse Hines, Hines. I am not uncomfortable providing Nurse Hines' information. She can be reached at 205-876-0588. Again, Nurse Tamika Hines, who is head of nursing services for Birmingham City Schools, can be reached at 205-876-0588 for the purpose of assisting you with securing your child's medication, as we understand that that is a priority need.
Our next question, what can parents do to continue in-home education when students have not received lessons?
So if you go to the Birmingham City Schools website, under the coronavirus tab, you will see enrichment activities. You will see activities that the Curriculum and Instruction Department has put together for students. You will see links to sites like Khan Academy, like Scholastic, that have specific lessons for each particular grade level. So there are many, many, many resources on our district website for you to be able to go to and pull specific lessons for specific grade levels for any student that you might have in your household at this time. So please make sure that you are using our website to, number one, stay abreast of what's going on within our district, but also to access those resources. They are on our website under the Enrichment tab, and also on the BCS app. If you have the app downloaded on your phone, which you should also have, you can also access those lessons, those tools, those resources, those online programs on our website. Also, please note that there are 4 online programs that our district is using heavily: iRead, iReady, Read 180, and System 44. There are also links to those 4 programs on our website and the grade levels that they apply to and how to log into those platforms as well. So please make sure you visit our website or the BCS app to get that information.
Let's turn to our next question that we have for those on this line right now. It concerns devices for assignments. Do you have a device to complete school assignments? Do you have a device at home to complete school assignments? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. Once again, do you have a device to complete school assignments? Press 1 for yes, press 2 for no. You will have 3 minutes to answer this question. As you are answering this question, we have a question for Dr. Herring and her team. Some students are doing online learning, but what is being done for students with no Wi-Fi or computers?
So as we shared earlier, we are working with the State Department to identify the critical standards for each subject area. And we are, for those students who may not have a device or who may not have Wi-Fi access, we are working to print and copy paper documents, paper handouts for students to be able to work at home. So we are working to figure out the system for getting those to you starting on next week, April 6th. But we will be making copies and printing out materials for students to be able to work at home for those who do not have access to the internet or devices.
What Dr. Florence has referred to is the option that the state has given us through what we are referring to as a remote learning plan. Our remote learning plan is a hybrid model that allows for us to ensure, with a high focus on equity, that whether you have devices or not, or Wi-Fi or not, you have access to the same instructional assignments and resources to complete the work tied to those critical standards. And so that is one of the options that we are embracing in Birmingham City Schools. To Dr. Florence's point, we're utilizing that hybrid model, so regardless of your situation, you will be able to receive the same information. Now, it is also important to note that Charter has made it available for the course of the next 60 days for our families who do not have Wi-Fi access to secure it for free. We are working in partnership relationship with them to help ensure that our families that are in that particular scenario can expedite their access to charter in order for them to receive services sooner than later. So families should be looking for more information, more than likely through a telephone call from the system, directing you to how to navigate through that. As it relates to devices, we recognize that there are some individuals who might have, back on March 19th when we ended, had devices at home, and then there are those who do not have devices, and that's variance across the schools. We are also entertaining that. But I think it's important for all families to note we have an 8-week window to close out the school year. For as much as we can push out and have devices ready, that is something we will focus on, but you are not codependent on having to have a device to successfully complete this school year. All of our information and all of our instructional resources will be made available with the idea that devices do not exist.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. Our next question from a parent, how is the third 9 weeks going to be done?
So parents, we actually finished the third 9 weeks on March the 13th. So that 9 weeks is actually complete. We have moved into the fourth 9 weeks. Everything you've heard today kind of speaks to how we plan to finish out the year. We will use a hybrid model. So if you have a device, there'll be opportunities for you to complete assignments on that device. If you do not have a device, we will make opportunities available for you to complete assignments, paper, pencil. We will have packets, we will have handouts for you to be able to complete your work. So we have finished the third 9 weeks. We are now into the fourth 9 weeks. And as we have said, we will make available to all of our students, thinking about equity, whatever they need to complete the rest of the school year.
So I want to tag along with Dr. Florence, because this audience is also our 9th through 12th grade group. And so as it relates to the third 9 weeks being completed, the earlier question was, can students still access grade results? If you have not accessed grade results and do not have a sense of how you currently performed, this is the time for you to go in and check the system. And it is our understanding that the vast majority of our entire student and parent population has access to that. Now, having said that, these last 8 weeks that will help us close out the year, you need to have an understanding around the level of focus that you need to put for grade recovery or grade improvement. That is important. And so going back in and checking your current academic status, we have completed, March 13th was the completion of the third 9 weeks. We are now in our fourth 9 weeks. It will not look anything like what we are traditionally used to experiencing. So scholars and parents, that's really important. The state has asked us to list out the most critical standards in order for us to navigate you to a closure of this academic year. So knowing where your 9-week status for your third 9-week cycle ended and the work that you need to do, whether it's credit recovery or enhancement, is an important part of how you should focus on the completion of your work. You can also check Chalkable to see the status of your third 9 weeks grades. We plan to get report cards out in the next couple of weeks, so you know that, but you can check the status of your grades right now by using Chalkable.
Thank you. Okay, our next question from a 9th grader, what are the next steps for students as part of the recovery program?
So I'm assuming that the recovery program would be credit recovery if you are an existing 9th grader, and so we'll answer that question from the standpoint of credit recovery.
So, again, being able to access your grades and to know where you are. If you were already in credit recovery, trying to recover a grade from first semester, that will continue. If you need access to printed materials, we will make that happen. But if you were already in credit recovery, trying to recover grades from first semester, that will continue using the grade result platform or the platform that you were already a part of. So credit recovery is still in process. You still have access to those platforms online. So please continue to work through credit recovery if you are already a part of that system.
Thanks a lot. I'm going to remind you one more time of our current question. We're about to close it out, but you have about 30 seconds to respond. This deals with devices for assignments. Do you have a device to complete school assignments? Do you have a device at home to complete school assignments? Press 1 for yes. Press 2 for no. We're going to close this out in about 15 seconds. So if you have not answered that, please answer that. Our next question, my daughter's grade, this is from a parent, my daughter's grades were rising. Will she be able to pull those up with more work?
So this is something we had a lot of discussions about with our team, and we do want to let you know that your child, if they are striving to improve their grade, they will have the opportunity to continue to do work and make up that work. You will get more information in the next week or so from your child's principal, but please do know that they will have an opportunity to improve their grade from the third 9 weeks.
All right, thanks a lot. Just to point out, we've been on the line for about 30 minutes now, and I know that we have a number of questions we're going through. There are some questions that are repetitive that may be people who are just joining the line, so we may answer some of those questions and mix in some of the new questions as well. Just to let everybody know, if you think we're asking the same question or if you think we haven't answered your question, we're trying to get to as many of these as we can. Our next question is about a 9th grader in special education. How will parents receive homework for students in special education? And parent does not have access to internet, and the student will need assistance.
So again, please look for or reach out to your school's principal if you have specific concerns around your child's needs. You will, in a few weeks, starting next week, hear from your child's case manager. And so they will be able to provide for you specifics about how they can provide support. Again, if you do not have access to devices, we will be able to print out materials, print out work for your child to do, but you will hear from your child's case manager within the next few weeks about next steps for you and your child.
Okay, thanks a lot. We're going to go to our next question. This is one that we talked about earlier, but we're seeing a few popping up here, so we do want to jump into this again in case you've missed this call. What will promise students have to do? Now, there's a couple of areas with that, with apprenticeships and with the tuition assistance. Mayor Woodman?
Everybody, two things. I'll start with the apprenticeship portion first. So the current cohort, we had to make the difficult decision to suspend the apprenticeships effective March 16th to be in alignment with the statewide closures of all of our K-12 schools, and that is to prevent the spread not only at the schools but at the workplaces as well. As many of you all know, a lot of these employers have enacted work-from-home policies, so we couldn't continue our current apprenticeship while school was out and while many of their employers implemented a work-from-home policy. And so I guess the next question, will there be another apprenticeship program next year starting for the fall class? The answer is yes. We plan to open up student applications in April, which is in a few days, and looking forward to another successful cohort. And then the last question and second part of the Birmingham Promise program is, will graduating seniors still receive tuition assistance through the Birmingham Promise? The answer is absolutely yes. This is a commitment we've made. This is a commitment we'll continue to make. And that tuition portion of the Birmingham Promise will be for these May 2020 graduates.
One other point that I want to bring up, we had him on earlier. If Dr. Williford is still on the line from the Jefferson County Department of Health, I would like to bring him into the conversation right now as well. Dr. Williford, I know that there's been a lot of talk about social distancing. You do have students and parents and family members on this line who do find those times, where it's kind of a little frustrating when they're inside the house. If you could just kind of go over the practice of social distancing, best practices, and what the health department is trying to remind folks, it'd be very helpful.
Sure, thank you so much. And the biggest thing right now with social distancing, when we say that, we're really just trying to decrease the number of interactions that people have. Each time you have an interaction is an opportunity for this virus to spread, and each time it spreads, it can go to places where it's going to be more dangerous. So what I encourage people to do, I know being home, having our young ones at home with us, I know that sometimes we want to be able to maybe get a little space, go out, take a little walk, get some fresh air, and that's perfectly fine. The important part, though, is that we still make sure to keep that minimum of a 6 feet distance. Going out to hang out with our friends, to go see a large group of people, that kind of defeats the purpose. And while it's very true that younger people do not seem to get as sick with this as people who are a bit older, they certainly can get sick with it and certainly can spread it on to other people. So it's very important that we really try to keep our gatherings down as much as possible, really try to avoid those interactions with other people, and really just try to stay as close to home as possible. Again, if you are going to be out and about, maintaining that 6 feet distance from any other person is critically important. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Williford. Okay, our next question, are students still being required to do state tests, and how will this be handled?
So the State Department has given us a reprieve from state assessments this year. So no, we will not be taking any of the required assessments. That includes the ACAP, we already took the ACT, so we got that out of the way. But all the state assessments that are usually required from the state, we will not be required to take this year.
Let me also add, because this is our 9th through 12th grade audience, ACT has also made a few accommodations for students who would still like to take the April examination. And so as you're also thinking about post-secondary options, if you've taken the ACT already, or even if you have not, please still go to the ACT website. This is not tied to the state's expectation of that. We've received, as Dr. Florence shared, a waiver for that. But we need you to still be thinking about your future and to be certain that you are aware of the accommodations that ACT is now making, as well as the ACT during this time frame. So parents and scholars, I want to emphasize the need and the importance of still looking at that platform as you think about your post-secondary options.
I also want to add that if you are an AP student who wants to take your AP test, you do still have that option to take the test. There are several resources online that AP is providing. There are teachers who are doing lessons every day in particular subject areas, and you can find that all on the AP website. But that is still an option for any student who wants to participate in the AP test this school year.
And if you are not certain of where to go for the advanced placement exam, College Board is the website for both SAT, PSAT, and AP. So www.collegeboard.org or .com. I think either way is going to get you there, or you can search College Board. Go to the College Board website. Whether you are an AP student and you still want to complete your exam, and or if you are looking at a continued assessment for college, as well as the ACT website.
Okay, our next question, are there any ways to help students in the dropout recovery program? There have been a few software issues.
So that is a question that we will have to get to Jennifer Spain-Williams, who is responsible for dropout recovery, and we can ask her to reach out to you. If you will reach out to your principal and let him or her know the issues that you've been having with dropout recovery, then they will reach out to Ms. Spain-Williams and get the help that you need with that particular program. So again, please reach out to your principal if you have been having issues with dropout recovery, and the principal will put you in touch with the contact, Ms. Spain-Williams, to help you work through that particular program.
All right, thanks a lot. Just a reminder to everybody on this line, as we continue taking your questions, and we know there have been a number that are repeat questions, we are going to make this available. We will make this available to Birmingham City Schools for their website, but this Tele-Town Hall will also be available at birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. That's birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. It should be ready within an hour after we get off the call, and you will be able to go there, play this call back if you would like to, or share it with friends as well so that they can have the information that you're receiving this morning. That goes to our next question. Will this break from school affect students who were in the process of receiving credentials in areas such as cosmetology and nursing?
So this is an outstanding question, and my heart aches on what I know the immediate answer is. Yes, you will be affected. But here's what I will do. I will, because we are in constant communication with the State Department, take this same question and push it out to our point of contact in the Alabama State Department of Education and ask what levels of consideration can be given specifically to our graduating seniors, because it is our goal for you to be able to close out your credentialing and your certification. As of now, it is without question that you are impacted. But because this question has been listed, and in our many conversations with the state, we've talked about courses of this nature. But as it relates to your opportunity to close out your credentialing, allow us to take this question another level higher so that we can see if there's another opportunity for you to be supported. Part of the complication in this is that during our current shelter in place, many of our apprenticeship opportunities, whether it's salons or barbershops or beauty shops, et cetera, are also closed. So that significantly impacts that window of opportunity that you would have had in closing this out. And so if there is a creative or unique or innovative way the state might consider how we can revisit that, it is my pleasure to take that to the State Department this week. And as we continue to push out information on a weekly basis, we'll keep you posted for the students who asked that question. That's a great question.
Okay, as we move on with our questions, here's another one for you. This one comes from a 9th grader. Will 9th graders going into the 10th grade still have the ability for dual enrollment over the summer?
These are the best questions ever. So I'm saying that because they simply are, which is not a surprise because we have the best scholars ever and parents. And so I honestly can tell you at this juncture, we can't give you a definitive answer to that. Recognizing what dual enrollment would have meant for your summer learning, for your ability to transition with credits into your sophomore year is a priority for us as well. It is not just the public school system that is impacted by our current circumstance. Certainly, it is also our post-secondary colleges and universities. We'll push into those questions to see what that might look like from an online standpoint. So that's an opportunity for us to engage with our college presidents and our other individuals. This is called our articulation committees. We'll push into that. As of today, we do not have a finite answer, but because that's the right question, we will take that forward, not just to our local colleges and universities, but that's another one that we need to push to the state. Great, great question.
Stand by while we load our next question. Just one moment. So we're going to ask another question here. Just to let you know, thank you for all of your excellent questions. We know that there are many questions out there. We are collecting all the questions that we have not been able to get online, and we will be compiling those so we can further address those. But with that, let me ask this question, and then we will talk a little bit more about some other ways that you can stay informed with this call. For students with both parents being deemed essential employees, how will this student receive assistance and their parents monitor their work?
So we do not anticipate giving you 50 pages of work to do each week. We are asking teachers to give you very meaningful and thoughtful assignments that just may be 1 or 2 pages of very thoughtful work aligned to our standards. We anticipate that teachers will be reaching out to students on a consistent basis to provide support. So if you have a child who may be struggling or a child who may not have a parent in the home that can help, teachers will be reaching out to students to lend their support with the assignments they're giving. But again, we're asking teachers to be very intentional and thoughtful about the work they're giving kids, not to send home a 50-page packet, but send 1 or 2 very meaningful things, very meaningful assignments home for students to work on, and then consistently reach out to provide support to them throughout this final 8 weeks of school.
And I want to speak to this from a lens of sensitivity. So Dr. Florence has shared a very appropriate and accurate response. It is not, during this time, it is not our goal to do information and worksheet overload. That is not our goal, and that will not be our approach. At the same time, as a single parent, recognizing that this unforeseen circumstance has put many of our households in a unique challenge, I've tried to think even in ways that you might be able to creatively seek the assistance of others, even virtually. I'll take us back to the idea of forming study groups, virtual study groups. That's something that I would encourage us to consider. A virtual study group could be a cohort of peers or a cohort of parents that work together. This is the type of season that we're in. Virtual study groups allows for us to also have flexibility around when we do our learning. We are now in a season where learning happens anywhere and at any time. And I want our families to know that we are sensitive to that. In addition to the virtual study groups, what I've also asked our team to review is the accessibility or the availability of teachers beyond just an 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. window, because many of our employees also have children and other responsibilities at home. So you should anticipate flexibility around being able to access the teacher in the evening at his or her, at the convenience to his or her schedule. So we want to extend that as well. I know that's not the perfect answer, but without question, it's the space that we're sitting in. And I do think that the virtual study groups could be a powerful tool, and we'll take a little ownership to help figure out what that might look like. That being said, do know that although we're not physically able to engage in a classroom setting, we'll be intentional about overemphasizing the resources that we have available for you.
So with that, that's the last of the questions, but hold on the line. I know that the mayor and Dr. Herring will both have some closing comments. Hold on the line afterwards, and I will give you some information about how you can find this call online and ways that you can continue to ask questions that we will follow up on and compile these questions with Birmingham City Schools so that you have the most up-to-date information. With that, I'd like to turn once again to Mayor Woodfin.
Just briefly, thank you all parents and students for being on this call. I'd like to thank the Birmingham Board of Education school board members as well as Dr. Herring and her leadership team for being available addressing these issues. And for that, I turn it over to Dr. Herring.
So once again, I want to express our appreciation to Mayor Randall Woodfin and to his team for allowing us to utilize this platform for outreach to our stakeholders. To our 9th through 12th grade audience, I'll close with what I said to you earlier. We have not forgotten any of you, and we recognize for a group of you who are a part of the class of 2020 that this is not what any of us could have planned. But do not think for any moment that we are not doing our very best to support you during this time. Since March 19th, we have found ourselves in the most unique space of planning and transitioning and shifting. I want to encourage all of our families and scholars to know that we will get through this time. We will work to ensure that academically, even in the most unusual of circumstances, we will do all that we can to support you. We will close out this year by or before June 6th. You will get the last day of instruction from Birmingham City Schools at the close of this week, and next week we will start that instructional delivery model. It won't be perfect. It's not perfect anywhere across the country or the state, but it will be intentional. And we will focus on making sure that as much as we can, you will be successful, and we're available to support you. On behalf of our 9 board members who aren't able to be with us on this call, but who are championing every element of this process, I thank you, and I thank them, and we look forward to completing this academic year for Birmingham City Schools.
Thank you, Dr. Herring. Once again, a reminder for you, we have many questions. We're compiling these into frequently asked questions. There's a couple of things that you can do. As soon as this call is over with, you can hold on. You can press 7, and if you have a question that you were not able to ask, you can leave that question there, and there'll be a message that we will receive, and we will compile it along with the other questions that have come in during this call. Secondly, give us about an hour or two to download this file. These Tele-Town Hall files are fairly large, so it takes a little time to download them. Once we download this file, we will post it first on birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. You'll just scroll down to the bottom, and you will find it at birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. You will see the list where it says Tele-Town Halls. There are multiple town halls there, but this one will be the top one on that list once it's updated. The Birmingham City Schools will also post this Tele-Town Hall on their website as well, so it'll be at the Birmingham City Schools website as well as birminghamal.gov/coronavirus. With that, if you have further questions, press 7 and stay on the line. Otherwise, thank you very much for being with us today. Stay safe, and thanks for taking part in this Tele-Town Hall. Have a good day, everyone.